06:44 a.m. Panama City time. Panama Canal Authority receives notification from Hutchison Port's terminal operators. Critical equipment failure detected at both Atlantic and Pacific port facilities. Automated crane systems experiencing synchronized malfunctions. Container handling suspended indefinitely pending technical assessment. Initial estimates suggest minimum 3-week repair timeline. Shipping companies receive delay notifications. 14% of global maritime trade flows through the 80-kilometer waterway connecting two oceans. Economic impact begins immediately as vessels queue outside canal approaches. This is Global Conflict Room, where global war decisions are made. 07:22 a.m. Crisis Assessment. Canal Authority engineering teams arrive at Balboa and Cristobal port complexes. Chinese-manufactured cranes show identical fault codes across all systems. Technical diagnostics reveal software corruption in control modules. Equipment purchased from Shanghai Zhenhua Heavy Industries operates at 90% of world's major ports. Panama facilities represent critical choke points where Chinese equipment controls American strategic transit. Backup systems also compromised. Manual operation possible, but reduces throughput by 87%. The simultaneous failure pattern defies probability of random malfunction. Suspicion immediately focuses on deliberate sabotage through embedded software vulnerabilities. 08:15 a.m. Washington Emergency Briefing. National Security Council receives intelligence update on Panama situation. CIA assessment confirms Hutchison Ports Panama operates as subsidiary of CK Hutchison Holdings, with significant Chinese state influence. Container terminal concessions granted in late 1990s now represent strategic vulnerability. Chinese control of infrastructure at both canal entrances creates ability to throttle American commercial and military transit. Timing analyzed as non-coincidental, given escalating Taiwan Strait tensions. Military logistics depend on rapid fleet movement between Atlantic and Pacific. Canal closure forces vessels on 21-day detour around South America. Strategic mobility advantage eliminated through infrastructure control rather than military action. What should command do first? A. Intercept. B. Strike back. C. Hold fire. The decision matrix reveals inadequacy of traditional response options. Intercepting already executed sabotage accomplishes nothing. Striking back against civilian infrastructure operators risks international condemnation and escalation. Holding fire allows economic strangulation to continue while Chinese leverage increases. Modern hybrid warfare exploits commercial relationships and infrastructure dependencies where military force proves ineffective. United States faces economic coercion through mechanisms that appear as technical failures rather than hostile acts. Global Conflict Room analysts assess operation as sophisticated economic warfare designed to extract political concessions without triggering military response. 10:33 a.m. Economic Impact Assessment. Department of Commerce calculates costs of canal disruption. Liquefied natural gas exports to Asia blocked. Agricultural shipments to Pacific markets delayed. Automobile imports from Japan rerouted. Petroleum product distribution chains disrupted. Daily economic impact reaches $400 million for American trade alone. Global shipping costs spike as alternative routing creates capacity shortages. Insurance rates increase due to longer voyage exposures. Financial markets react to supply chain disruption uncertainty. Stock indices declined 3% on opening. Energy sector particularly affected as LNG spot prices surge. The economic weapon proves devastatingly effective without firing single shot or violating any treaty obligations. What happens next determines the next decade. 11:47 a.m. Beijing time. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson addresses routine press conference. Question raised about Panama Canal disruptions. response emphasizes private commercial operations and technical difficulties beyond government control. Offer made to provide technical assistance through Chinese engineering firms. Statement notes importance of maintaining global supply chains and freedom of navigation. The carefully crafted messaging maintains plausible deniability, while signaling Chinese awareness and implicit leverage. International observers recognize classic hybrid warfare pattern, where state actors operate through commercial proxies, enabling deniability. American officials understand Chinese government capacity to resolve crisis immediately through control over equipment manufacturers and port operators. 13:20 p.m. Panama government position. President convenes emergency cabinet session. Economic impact on Panama catastrophic as canal revenues represent 6% of GDP. Chinese investment in infrastructure over 2 decades created financial dependence. Pressure received from Beijing through diplomatic channels suggesting rapid resolution possible with appropriate cooperation. Simultaneously, American officials demand immediate restoration of canal operations. Panama caught between great powers with limited independent capability to resolve crisis. Foreign Minister proposes international mediation. Defense Minister notes Panama lacks technical expertise to repair sophisticated Chinese equipment without manufacturer assistance. Finance Minister warns of economic collapse if crisis extends beyond 1 month. National sovereignty erodes as small nation becomes battleground for great power competition. 15:44 p.m. Washington Strategic Options. National Security Council debates response courses. Option 1. Negotiate directly with China for crisis resolution, accepting implicit political conditions. Option 2. Military seizure of canal facilities to enable American technical teams restore operations. Option 3. Economic pressure campaign against Chinese companies and officials responsible. Option 4. Accelerate alternative route development and reduce Panama dependence long-term. Each option carries severe drawbacks. Negotiation establishes precedent for economic coercion success. Military action violates Panamanian sovereignty and international law. Economic pressure takes months to achieve effects, while damage accumulates daily. Alternative routes require years of development and massive investment. President demands creative solution that restores canal function without surrendering to Chinese leverage or triggering broader conflict. Necessary deterrence or dangerous escalation? The question assumes different character in infrastructure warfare context. Traditional deterrence focuses on military threats and nuclear weapons. Economic coercion operates below threshold, triggering military response while achieving strategic effects. China demonstrates capability to strangle American commerce through infrastructure control without deploying military forces. How does United States deter future economic warfare when adversary controls critical civilian infrastructure through commercial relationships appearing legitimate? Military retaliation against economic coercion creates escalation to war over trade disruption. Accepting coercion invites repetition. The strategic dilemma reveals gap in American deterrence posture for hybrid threats. 17:22 p.m. Emergency diplomatic outreach. State Department contacts Chinese counterparts requesting immediate technical assistance for canal repairs. Message emphasizes mutual interest in global commerce stability. Implicit understanding exists that political discussions regarding Taiwan will follow crisis resolution. Chinese officials express willingness to facilitate equipment repairs pending resolution of outstanding security concerns. Language remains deliberately vague, allowing multiple interpretations. Back-channel negotiations begin exploring compromise, where China provides technical solution, while United States offers limited concessions on Taiwan policy rhetoric, without substantive position changes. The diplomatic dance attempts to find face-saving resolution for both sides. Which system activates first in a missile alert? A. Radar. B. Satellites. C. Command link. Infrastructure warfare requires different detection architecture than military early warning. Economic monitoring systems track trade flows and supply chain disruptions. Intelligence networks observe commercial relationships and foreign investment patterns. Cyber capabilities monitor industrial control systems. The challenge involves identifying hostile intent behind apparently legitimate business operations. Panama Canal dependence recognized for decades, but commercial efficiency prioritized over security redundancy. American strategic planning assumed infrastructure access despite foreign ownership. The miscalculation reflects broader failure to adapt security frameworks for economic interdependence era, where adversaries weaponize commercial relationships. 1940 p.m. Military contingency planning. United States Southern Command develops operation for canal seizure if diplomatic resolution fails. Special Operations Forces could secure port facilities within 12 hours. Army Corps of Engineers teams prepared to deploy for emergency repairs. Naval vessels positioned for rapid transit into Panama. Rules of engagement drafted authorizing minimal force against civilian infrastructure workers. Legal justification prepared citing national security emergency and Panamanian government cooperation. International law experts warn of precedent enabling other nations to seize foreign infrastructure. Allied governments express concern over potential military action. Latin American countries particularly sensitive to American intervention echoes. The military option exists, but political costs prove nearly as severe as accepting Chinese economic leverage. If you follow global conflict analysis, type GCR. Day 2, expanded crisis. Container ships queue outside canal approaches numbering 117 vessels. Demurrage costs accumulate. Perishable cargo spoils. Manufacturing plants adjust production schedules due to parts shortages. Retail inventory projections revised downward. American consumers face price increases as shipping costs pass through supply chains. Political pressure intensifies on administration to resolve crisis immediately. Opposition party criticizes dependence on foreign infrastructure. Media coverage emphasizes national security vulnerability. Public opinion shifts toward supporting aggressive action despite risks. Chinese social media celebrates American predicament as demonstration of declining superpower status. The information warfare component amplifies economic impact through psychological pressure. Day 3, negotiation progress. Secret talks in Geneva between American and Chinese officials. Chinese position clear. Technical assistance provided immediately if United States commits to 3 conditions. First, no additional arms sales to Taiwan for 12 months. Second, no American official visits to Taiwan during same period. Third, joint statement emphasizing one China policy. American negotiators explore modifications allowing face-saving compliance. Counterproposal suggests reduced arms sales rather than complete halt. Taiwan visits by lower-level officials rather than senior leadership. One China policy reaffirmation without new commitments. Chinese officials consult Beijing. Americans brief president on negotiation status. Day 5, breakthrough announcement. Joint statement issued simultaneously in Washington and Beijing. United States reaffirms one China policy and emphasizes peaceful resolution of cross-strait differences. China announces technical assistance teams deploying to Panama to address equipment malfunctions. Both governments stress commitment to global commerce and infrastructure security. Shijai of private negotiations remain classified. Taiwan government receives quiet assurance that substantive American support continues despite public rhetoric adjustments. Chinese leadership claims diplomatic victory, demonstrating economic leverage effectiveness. American officials privately acknowledge tactical retreat while planning long-term infrastructure security improvements. Day 7, canal restoration begins. Chinese engineers arrive in Panama with replacement components and software updates. Equipment repairs proceed rapidly with manufacturer technical knowledge. Container handling resumes at reduced capacity after 36 hours. Full operations restored within 1 week of technical team arrival. Shipping backlog clears over subsequent 2 weeks. Economic damage totals $18 billion across global supply chains. American Strategic Review initiated examining infrastructure dependencies and foreign ownership vulnerabilities. Panama considers diversification of port operators to reduce single-country dependence. Day 14, Strategic Assessment. Intelligence community produces comprehensive analysis of crisis. Confirms Chinese government coordination of equipment failure through embedded software vulnerabilities. Operation planned, months in advance, awaiting optimal timing. Taiwan Strait tensions provided trigger for execution. Objectives achieved include demonstrating American vulnerability, extracting diplomatic concessions, and establishing precedent for economic coercion. Recommendations include infrastructure security improvements, supply chain diversification, and enhanced monitoring of foreign commercial operations in strategic sectors. Military options developed for future crises, but political costs acknowledged as severe constraint. What decision would you make in that room? Was diplomatic compromise accepting limited Chinese demands appropriate response or dangerous precedent, encouraging future coercion? Should United States have employed military force to seize Canal despite sovereignty violations and international condemnation? How can democratic nations protect critical infrastructure from foreign control while maintaining free market principles? Who bears responsibility for strategic vulnerability, created through decades of commercial decisions prioritizing efficiency over security? The Panama Canal scenario demonstrates modern economic warfare where commercial infrastructure becomes weapon and where traditional military superiority proves irrelevant against hybrid threats. China achieves strategic objectives through civilian infrastructure control that appears as technical failure rather than hostile act. American response options prove inadequate as military force creates escalation while acceptance invites repetition. The scenario reveals fundamental challenge of great power competition in globalized economy, where interdependence creates asymmetric vulnerabilities and where established frameworks for deterrence and response fail to address non-kinetic coercion. Subscribe to Global Conflict Room, inside the room where history changes.